So we have the legal issues as well. Relying exclusively on AI for promotions or termination raises legal concerns, of course, as organizations may become liable for discrimination claims if AI systems are found to exhibit a bias. And all of them are going to exhibit a bias one way or the other. And so you're not going to eliminate the bias. And so by having a bias in there, in other words, making unfair decisions, you're opening up the company to lawsuits, employer lawsuits, and typically those make the paper. They're bad PR, bad optics, and those are things that you don't want to have happen to you. Employers must ensure that AI tools comply with labor regulations and avoid the legal repercussions of doing that. And so they have to consider every law and every parameter that's out there. And in doing so, in making these decisions, I think in many cases, they're going to make decisions where people are going to test the AI system. I always tell my students in my AI architecture class, it's not a matter of when you're going to be involved in a lawsuit. It's just going to happen to you. In other words, it's going to be a foregone conclusion because AI over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be tested legally. If it's making very important decisions and we're outsourcing that to an automated framework, people are going to test the automated framework in court. And so in other words, they're going to question it. And we're going to have to answer a lot of questions around how these systems were built, how we manage bias. And I think in many cases, even the AI architects aren't ready to explain that yet. In many instances, they're surprised that people rely on the tools as much as they do. So the responsibility falls on the organizations to implement AI ethically and transparently, as failing to do so could lead to lawsuits, damage the company's reputation, highlighting the need for governance and accountability frameworks in AI utilization. So there's a risk to doing this. In other words, there may be some sort of a productivity gain that you get from outsourcing many of the decisions you need to make as a human to some sort of an automated processes. But if you do that, you're going to have to accept the risk, making bad decisions, getting sued, and have to explain to courts and the employees how you came to the decision and why it was fair to do so. In many instances, I think these firings and layoffs are going to be undone. In other words, people are going to get pushed out of the organization. They're going to test it in court. They're going to figure out they relied too much on an automated AI process for making those decisions, and that was a flawed system, and they're going to be reversed. So there has to be a human element in management.